Alright guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the garden. Doing the nighttime thing again because it is early, well no, it's mid-May, May 15th, and it's already been 2 weeks in the upper to mid 90s, or mid to upper 90s. Basically between last May being a complete wash, it rained all but I think 2 days. There was no measurable precipitation last year. Just awful for fruit set. I don't know when I'm gonna get another tomato. And then this year, it being just ridiculously hot so early in the season, it's not working out very well. I do have some shade cloth that I'm going to be testing out. Now last year, I took some 50% shade cloth over to my buddy's house and put it over his tomatoes.
I hope it's not hurt. Damn, it looks like it is.
I essentially had given up on it because he didn't get any fruit set. And then I remembered that, well, you have to know Tim to understand. He did exactly the opposite of what I told him to do, which, I told him don't give it a lot of nitrogen. Don't give your tomatoes a lot of nitrogen. And he immediately went out and threw a bunch of blood meal on them. And I'd almost convinced myself that the shade cloth hadn't worked until I remembered the blood meal. So I'm gonna have to do my own little test. That's kind of the reason why I took the shade cloth over there, so I could test it then while I had my garden tarped. So anyway, I've got this rooted cutting that I need to get potted up. These can't really stay in water indefinitely. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this guy in some soil. Now this is Ocean Forest, great soil. I'm not gonna bother putting him in ground just yet. Let him grow in this container for a couple of months at least. It's not gonna cool down anytime soon, I don't think. Get those roots. See, that's just some already moistened Ocean Forest. I put some a cheap 356 or 365. It's Expert Gardener, no big deal. Most organic fertilizer is going to be, very little to none. I'm just going to get a little well in here and pop this guy in. The thing about North Texas and fruiting plants is that, well, a lot of people, think that we have a long growing season, and we do have a long growing season. We don't have a long fruiting season. Once it gets into the 90s, everything's going to start dropping flowers. My tomatoes in ground already dropping flowers. Actually, did put a little bit of mycorrhiza in here as well. That's gonna grow in just fine. Give that guy a little water. That soil will settle a little bit and I'll be able to put some mulch. Okay. Now, mulch in containers
are lacewing eggs.
I've realized over the past few years that even in containers, the soil will develop a crust that water just won't break the surface tension until after you've watered several times. And it makes watering kind of a pain, a very time-consuming process. But if you have some sort of mulch and you don't let that top layer of soil completely dry out at any time, and it won't because you've got the mulch there, and then it's not baking from the sun, it'll do much better at absorbing water when you do get around to watering. So compare something like this elephant ear or this banana to something like a rosemary or a lavender. Two plants that people typically kill with love and don't realize it. Now, although rosemary and lavender seemingly have billions, or that's obviously an exaggeration, but they have so many more leaves than something like an elephant ear or a banana. But they're very, very tiny leaves. So in relation to plant size, that leaf size is extremely small. Whereas these leaves are very big. Lots of room for stomata. Whereas rosemary don't have much room at all. This is also why you won't typically find really large leaved plants available at local nurseries. If you find, you come to Texas and you go looking for giant hostas or something like that, you're probably not going to find them in a local nursery. And if you do, probably wouldn't be shopping there very long. They're either trying to dupe you or they just don't know. Large hostas are things that you're going to find up in coastal regions that get a lot of rain and are typically much cooler than it is in Texas. It's very dry here and hot. Have I mentioned that before? I feel like I need to emphasize that a little bit more. It's hot. It's actually cool tonight. It was only, I think 91 was the high today. But yeah, it's not easy to garden in Texas, as one can imagine. I don't know if you guys can see any of these seedlings back here, but I've got a lot of stuff to plant, and I don't know if I have space to plant it. So I will be taking some of this over to my buddy here in a little bit. Understand that, large leaf plants need a lot more water than small. Don't overwater your rosemary or lavender. I had a bush in the front yard that was there for probably 20 years, and I could count on both hands how many times I watered it, and most of the time it was literally just kind of as I passed by. And that was really just because I like to smell the rosemary. That thing was about the size of a smart car. And it had been trimmed back so many times it was ridiculous. Actually lost that in the winter storm a couple of years ago, and that was a little bit sad. I'll be getting another one though, don't worry. Not really sure what I'm gonna do with the bananas either. I don't necessarily want to put them in ground because we do get so cold here in the winter. And I'd like to eventually get some fruit off those guys. This is already making, it's already made 3 new pups. So maybe I'll put some of the pups outside and keep this guy in a container and see what it does. So I've got my strawberries in ground over on the side of the house. The whole plan today was to get some strawberries over there on the side of the house in my 50 square foot bed. They really need some shade cloth. It's getting to that time of year where they've got to gotta have a little bit of protection. The sun is not kind, the heat is oppressive, and the sun is trying to kill you and everything under it. So if you're in a climate like mine, shade cloth is relatively cheap. Go ahead and make that investment. You'll have a much better garden. Your plants will thank you. And yes, you will be sacrificing a little bit of photosynthesis, but I'll tell you what doesn't photosynthesize very well at all is a wilted plant. So give your plants that help and plenty of water, except for your rosemary and lavender. We've been over this. But yeah, anyway, I'll be doing some more daytime gardening videos. I've got some new filters for my camera, so the sun isn't so much of an overexposure, and I hope to be able to bring you guys some better quality content. So if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate a like, thumbs up, subscribe in front of the camera. Anyway, if you liked the video, I appreciate any help I can get. We'll see you next time. Take care.